Hi guys, Shinji72 here, and today we have Dark Souls. So this game is not only notorious for its difficulty level, but also for its lack of easy explanations. Not only you will have to discover many basic gameplay mechanics by yourself, but you are also thrown in this world without knowing anything about it. What's going on in Lothric? Who are these Lords of Cinder you are supposed to put back on their thrones? Why everybody is so obsessed with kindling the fire? And what is this fire? Even the player identity is totally unclear. So, maybe I'm not very good at this game, but I am good at research, so I've done a lot of research. And so I hope I can give you now a quick, brief and clear explanation on what is going on in Dark Souls 3. And yes, by the way, this is another game, I know. So, at the beginning of time it was the age of the ancient, or maybe it was even before the beginning of time. The world was shrouded in grey and populated by mythical beings, giant trees and everlasting dragons. There was no light and no dark, there was no good and no bad, it was basically a world of nothingness. Then, somehow, one day it came the first fire. The first fire brought a contrast to the world, where before there was uniformity, now there was disparity. Heat and cold, light and dark, life and death. In other words, the first fire was some sort of mythological Big Bang, turning nothingness into something. And then came the lords, gods-like creatures which draw their powers from the first fire. They defeated the dragons and became the new lords of the so-called Age of Fire. And then I suppose for thousands of years everything was alright with the world, until one day something bad happened. The first fire became more and more dim, its powers more and more faint. So it was clear that the Age of Fire was coming to an end, and that was something the lords didn't want. So the most powerful of them, Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, decided to kindle the flame of the first fire by using its own soul. And this is some sort of biblical original scene for the Dark Souls universe, because by kindling the flame again, Gwyn was going against the natural order of things. The first fire was supposed to extinguish itself with time, and of course, usually in mythology, when you go against the natural order of things, a lot of bad stuff is going to happen. There is some debate about that, but it seems likely that the first consequence of Lord Gwyn's actions is the Dark Sign curse. Which means basically all the people start to become hollow and turn into crazy undead, which is pretty awful, but there is even a bigger problem. It seems that unfortunately the kindling of the fire had not a permanent effect, and after a while the first fire will start to dim and fade away again. And that's where you, me, us, the player of Dark Souls, come into play. In Dark Souls 1 you are called the Chosen Undead, although it's clear that there are many more other Chosen Undead doing the same thing as you do. But anyway, I guess the more they are, the more the chance of success. And the mission is basically to overthrow Lord Gwyn, whose soul is not capable anymore of sustaining the first fire, replace him over his throne, relink to the fire, and fuel the fire with all the souls you have collected during your journey. So the Age of Fire is saved, but then once again the first fire after a while will start to faint again. And so the cycle will go on and on again, generation after generation. Dark Soul game after Dark Soul game. There will be always someone, some hero, capable of linking to the fire and kindling it again. Until Dark Souls 3. In the last title of the franchise, the situation seems to be a little more extreme. And the fault is perhaps on this young guy here, King Lothric, one of the game's latest boss. He was supposed to become the new Lord of Cinder, like his ancestors did, to link himself with the fire, to burn its souls to kindle the fire. But then, like an entitled millennials, he said, "No, I'm not interested in that." That's why if you go back to his throne in the Firelink Shrine, you will read King Lothric, last hope of his line. So it seems in Dark Souls 3 we are in a kind of extreme situation. It's a kind of the last call to kindle the fire again. In the intro scene we hear the bell ringing, which is a sort of distress call. We also see the last Lords of Cinder before Lothric to rise up again. It's not clear why they raise up from their tomb, but possibly it's because you need to collect all their souls if you want to kindle the fire again in such an extreme situation. And then there is you, the player, the hero. If at least one of us in all the world will be able to collect all of the souls of these games and kindle the flame, the Age of Fire will be saved once again. But then the next question will be, actually saving the Age of Fire is a good thing? There is a lot of debate and speculation about what will happen if the first fire expires completely. Would the world go back to the uniform grey fog, to the age of nothingness? Or actually the world would move on into another era, maybe the era of darkness, which might sound bad, but actually in the game the Age of Darkness seems to imply some sort of the Age of Humanity. So maybe it is all a trick. Maybe the gods are tricking us into trying to kindling the fire every time, thus extending the Age of Fire, where gods live and rule over humanity. Is this the case? It's difficult to say. It's a theory, a game theory, no, sorry.
A game theory!
But anyway, all this concept of the end of the world, or the world moving from one phase to the others, reminds of a lot of stuff from mythology, the Bible, and Neo Genesis Evangelion. And now you know where my nicknames come from. But in a way, all this game reminds us all of our own experience as humans, because we try all the time to keep that flame burning up. But then one day, sooner or later, better later than sooner, the flame will just dry up. And what's beyond that? The nothingness of the grey fog, something new, a new world, something different. We'll never know until we got there, but for the moment, better keep that flame burning up. And praise the sun! And that was all for today. Hope you did enjoy this video. The Dark Souls lore is pretty huge. I hope I managed to nail down the main concept. but I'm pretty new to the game, so maybe I missed something truly important. Well, maybe just let me know in the comment below. Here we talk mostly about gaming and modding, especially Skyrim modding, which might be 5 years old, but I know there is some huge stuff coming out in the next future. So this was Shinji72, see you next for the next video. Bye!